Okay. You all started the retreat with the 8 lifetime precepts, or 8 precepts, and now we are going to administer the 5 precepts. Those who are unfamiliar with the 5 precepts may look at the paper. You can see on one page 3 refuges and the 5 precepts. Those who know them by heart, they don't have to look at the paper. I think most Theravada Buddhists know the 5 precepts and 3 refuges. So now start with reciting the first part, Okasa. Yamahang vadami tang vadeta. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tutiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tisarana gamaṇaṃ sampunnaṃ, Pāṇātipātā vēramaṇī sikkāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi, Adinādāna vēramaṇī sikkāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi, Kāmesu miccācārā vēramaṇī sikkāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi, Musāvādā vēramaṇī sikkāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi, Surameraya Madhyapamadhattana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Tisaranena saddhim panchasilang dhammang samadhayitva sadhukang surakhitam kattva appamadena sampadetabang Shilena sugating yanti shilena bhoga sampada Shilena nibbhating yanti tasma shilang visodaye. Dhammo averakkati dhammacari chattang mahantang yatavassa kale esani sangso dhamme sucinne naduggating gacchati dhammacari. Dhamma protects those who protect the Dhamma, just like an umbrella protects those who protect the umbrella. So the Dhammachari, those who practice Dhamma, will not go to woeful state of existence. This is the meaning of the stanza that I recited in Pali. This is very true, 100% true. When you carry an umbrella in rains like today and come home, if you take care of the umbrella, you shake it up, get the water out, put it in a dry place, and the next time when you want to use the umbrella when it rains, that umbrella will help you. If you throw away the umbrella to a corner and let it be eaten by insects, mice, and rot building moss, and so forth, next time when you open the umbrella, it is unusable. Either it is broken or eaten by insects, and you cannot use the umbrella. Similarly, when you listen to Dhamma, read the Dhamma, discuss the Dhamma, and just forget it. Never put that into your life. Can that Dhamma help you? No. You will be having a lot of greed, hatred, anger, fear, tension, delusion, confusion. All your mind will be filled with all these things. The Dhamma that you listen, read, and discuss doesn't help you. Right? So what should we do to get some help from the Dhamma? We must put it into practice. So that is how the Dhamma protects us. So, when we practice Dhamma, and Dhamma will always protect us. I mentioned at the beginning, one Dhamma is practicing metta. You recite metta 1,000,000 times and do not put it into practice, can metta help you? Never help you. Some people believe that if they practice metta, they will be protected by fire, poison, and weapon. That is mentioned in the suttas, in Mettanisansa Sutta. Mettanisansa Sutta says that Aggiva Visangva Sattangva Na Aggiva Visangva Sattangva Kamati. That means when you practice metta, you will not be affected by fire, poison and weapon. Do you believe in that? You believe? I don't believe in that. So suppose I practice metta. Somebody comes behind me and shoot. Doesn't the bullet go through my body? Somebody comes and stab me from behind. Doesn't the weapon doesn't go through my body? Or somebody without my awareness, I am completely absorbed in metta. Somebody comes around and set fire to my robe. Won't I be burnt? I will be burnt. You know that very famous story. Most of those traditional Buddhists know the story. There was a woman called Samavati. Buddha called Samavati in Anguttara Nikaya, he mentioned, Etadaggam bhikkave mama gihi sāvikārnaṁ upāsikārnaṁ metta vihārēnaṁ yadidam Samavati. Bhikkhus, among my lay female disciples, practicing metta, Samavati is number one. Buddha gave this recognition that Samavati was practicing metta. Among metta practicing lay women, she was number one. And also she not only practiced metta, she taught metta. Every week she had a metta retreat. Metta retreat. And 500 women came to attend her metta retreat. This was King Udaina's wife. There was another wife, for kings had many women as wives, concubines. Another woman called Magandhya. Magandhya was very, very angry with the Buddha. Why was she angry? Her father wanted to marry this woman to a man, this young woman. She was the most beautiful woman. Whoever came to propose to marry her, she would reject him, saying he is short or dark or tall or thin, or find something or other wrong in this man. So she rejected. Then now as time goes by, this woman is not getting younger. So the parents want to marry her. One day her father was going through a forest and saw very nice, beautiful, majestic looking, young, healthy, radiant man sitting under a tree. And he ran home and reported to his wife and daughter that he found a young man. This time, my daughter will never reject him. Definitely she will agree to marry him. So he brought his wife and daughter and proposed to this man. Who is this man? The Buddha. The Buddha. And when he proposed to the Buddha, Buddha said, Disvana tannang arating ratinche nahosi kamang api metunasming kime udang midang mutta karisa punang padapinang pusitang neiche. Don't get offended when I tell the meaning of that. Especially women can get offended. Having seen Tanna Rati Raga, 3 divine celestial angel women, Buddha said, I did not have a scruple of lust for them. How can I marry this woman full of excrement and urine? So Mahatma got very, very angry. She wanted to hurt the Buddha, but he could not hurt the Buddha. Then Mahagandhya found Samavati was Buddha's disciple, practicing metta. Easy target. So she thought of hurting her. When one day, when she was practicing metta and teaching metta in her metta retreat with 500 women, Mahagandhya tried many, many ways to destroy Samavati, hurt her, poisoned the king's mind against her. Various things she tried, but nothing worked because she was practicing metta. Finally, she got her relatives and friends and pour oil around the building they were meditating and set fire. All the 500 women, while practicing metta, died in that fire. So fire burned people while practicing metta. So, while she was dying, there are many such stories. This is a very popular one. So, while they were dying, Samavati very loudly said, "Sisters, this is the time to practice metta. This is the time not to have one bit of anger towards the people who set fire to this building." Even at that time, although she said, "Let our body be burnt, but don't let your mind have a little bit of anger." So, that is how she practiced it. What does it mean? When you practice metta, your mind will not be affected by not this external fire. Your mind will not be affected by fire of greed, fire of hatred, fire of delusion. There is a discourse in this book, you can read it when you have time. This is called Ragaggi, Dosaggi, Mohaggi. Raga visa, dosa visa, moha visa. Raga satta, dosa satta, moha satta. So, when you practice metta, your mind will not be affected by the poison of greed, hatred and delusion. Not will be affected by the fire of greed, hatred and delusion. Not will be affected by the weapon of fire of greed, hatred and delusion. That is the meaning. So, what the Buddha said is very true. We must understand the meaning of when we practice metta. Our minds, only those who practice metta, will not be affected by greed, hatred and delusion. And therefore, if we simply recite metta and do not practice and put into your life, you always will be angry. You always have poison of greed in your mind, poison of hatred, delusion. And therefore, just like the umbrella you carry as a walking stick. If you don't use it when it rains, that umbrella will not help you. If you throw away the umbrella here and there and let it be destroyed by insects and mice and so forth, that umbrella will not help you. Similarly, friends, Dhamma is for us to put into practice. Dhamma is for us to put into practice. If you do not practice Dhamma, no matter how much you read books, Dhamma books, entire library, you go to Congress, Library of Congress, and you find millions of Dhamma books in various languages, not only Pali, English and so forth. The biggest library in the world. It is said that if you stack the books from the Library of Congress, stack one upon the other, you can reach the moon. That many books are there. Even if you read all these books and never practice, never put Dhamma into practice, it will not help you. Therefore, you came for a short retreat, you listened to many beautiful Dhamma talks, and all of them conveyed a wonderful message of the Buddha. And when you leave, go home, remember what you have studied. Dhammang sunati, sutta dhammang dhareti, dhatanam dhammang attang uparikati. When you listen to Dhamma or read the Dhamma, you must memorize it. And think of the meaning of what you have memorized. And then you must ask yourself, how can I put this Dhamma into practice? How can I put this into practice? None of us can go behind you to remind you how to practice Dhamma, because we don't know whether you practice or not, because you live your personal life. Only those who are 100% honest and sincere with themselves will see their mind, how much they have messed up the mind. Once the mind is messed up, you cannot expect any peace, any happiness, any joy, because the very origin, the root is spoiled. When mind is spoiled or poisoned, we mentioned this many times, there are very beautiful things in the Buddha's teaching. Every word is beautiful, provided it is Buddha's own words. Not something that is said in the name of the Buddha, but the real thing that the Buddha taught is like diamond, all meaningful. If we misunderstood the Dhamma, that is far more dangerous than catching a snake, poisonous snake, by its tail. There's a very beautiful discourse in Majjhima Nikaya called Alagadupama Sutta. Alagadupama Sutta. Alagadda means snake, poisonous snake. When you catch a poisonous snake, Why people catch poisonous snakes? They want to extract venom to use for medicine. For that purpose, they catch poisonous snake. Similarly, if you learn the Dhamma and misunderstood the Dhamma, you will, instead of using it, you will abuse it. Or, when you abuse it, you poison your mind. The misunderstanding of Dhamma is far more dangerous than catching a poisonous snake by its tail. If you want to catch the poisonous snake, safely you have to catch him using a fork-like stick and press him down by his neck and catch his head and then open his mouth very carefully and get the venom. Similarly, when we understand the Dhamma, listen to Dhamma, read the Dhamma, discuss the Dhamma, we must try to understand the Dhamma correctly. See, in this story of metta practice, if we simply say that if I practice metta, 5 poison weapons outside would not affect me, and you will go to a forest, a jungle, and when a lion is coming towards you, you practice metta. Would the lion run away? No. Why? You misunderstood the message. You misunderstood the message. Therefore, Buddha said in the Sabbasava Sutta, when there are poisonous, dangerous animals and so on, avoid them. This is parivajjana pahatabba. Sabbasava Sutta number 2 in the Majjhima Nikaya. Sabbasava, when there are wild animals, dangerous, avoid them. When there are traps, avoid them. So, when we learn the Dhamma, we must learn the meaning correctly, properly. If you misunderstood the Dhamma, you poison your mind as well as millions of people's minds. When snake bite, hold him incorrectly, when a snake bites, you will be sick or gravely sick, or you may die. It is not contagious. It's not infectious. But that's only limited to one life. But if you misunderstood the Dhamma, you can poison your mind and millions of other people's minds by giving wrong message. And people have been doing it all along. And therefore, using the umbrella correctly, properly, you will be saved. If you don't use it properly, you will not be using the umbrella for your own benefit. Naduggatin gacchati dhammachari. Dhammachari means those who practice Dhamma live in accordance with the Dhamma. It is not very easy to live in accordance with the Dhamma if you do not understand the Dhamma. You don't know what to practice. For instance, meditation. Meditation is the best thing that anybody can do in one's life to make the life peaceful, happy, and healthy. To keep the healthy mind, you meditate. When the mind is healthy, the body is healthy. So these two are connected. If the meditation, you misunderstood the meditation, you go to various places and learn various things from various teachers, and you don't know what to practice. And therefore, sometimes people ask us, how do we know? There are so many things in the name of Buddhism. How do we know which is the Buddha's teaching? Or how do we know the truth? Because in the name of truth there are so many things. In the name of Buddha's teaching there are so many things. You may ask, especially these days because of this mass communications and sources, hundreds of different sources are available for us to learn now because of this new sophisticated communication system. You learn various things and then you begin to find out how to sort out the Buddha's teaching. What is really real Buddha's teaching? How do we find out? Only way to find out is what, because the truth is the truth. No matter who tells the truth, it doesn't matter from whom the truth comes, it is the truth. As I mentioned in my first talk, truth does not vary from person to person, country to country, situation to situation. Truth is truth. In order to find out what the Buddha taught, which is true, there's only one criterion. That is, you must ask, does this teaching lead me to get rid of suffering, or does it increase my suffering? Buddha said in his final discourses, in many places, bhikkhus, I teach only two things, suffering and its end. Suffering and its end. You ask yourself whenever you learn something in the name of Buddhism, ask yourself, does this help me to get rid of my suffering or not? If it doesn't help me to get rid of my suffering, that is not the Buddha's teaching. If it does help me to get rid of suffering, that is the Buddha's teaching. In Mahapadana, Buddha mentioned 4 things. Suppose you learn Dhamma, somebody will tell you, I learned the Dhamma from the Buddha's own mouth, sitting right in front of him, I learned the Dhamma. Therefore, what I say is true. Everything else is false. Don't accept it. Don't reject it. You go and check with the source. This is number 1. Number 2, suppose somebody tells you that he learns the Dhamma from bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, learned bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, after the Buddha passing away, and therefore what I say is the truth, everything else is not true. Don't accept it, don't reject it, go and refer to the sources. Third person would say, I learned the Dhamma from all the learned bhikkhus, very highly educated, with many qualifications, 10 PhDs and so on. I learned from them. Therefore, that is the truth. Nothing is true. Go and don't accept, don't reject, but go and check. Lastly, somebody would say, I learned the Dhamma from bhikkhunis. As the Buddha said, unless bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, upasaka upasikas are very learned, skillful to teach Dhamma, and these bhikkhunis are very great, skillful, learn the Dhamma. I learn from them. Therefore, what I say is the truth. What the bhikkhunis say that what they say is true. So I learn from them. Buddha said, don't accept it, don't reject it, go and check the source. What is the source? Source is the Four Noble Truths. If the teaching that you learn does not match with the Four Noble Truths, that is not the Buddha's teaching. So, where you find it? Where you find the Four Noble Truths? I bet you find it in our library. Or any other library. Where do you find it? You find it in yourself. Where is dukkha? Where is suffering? In here. Cause of suffering? In here. End of suffering? Nibbana? In here. And the path leading to Nibbana is here. You, each and every one of us, carry these Four Noble Truths, but try to find out. How to find out? Ask questions. Ask questions. Don't try to hide the truth. Trying to hide the truth is like trying to hide the sun. You cannot do that. You ask yourself, do I have suffering or not? People are very good in cheating themselves. Very good. Friends, you can cheat anything and anybody but you. If you ask yourself whether I have suffering or not, what would be the answer? I have. You cannot say I don't. Right? So, I have suffering. Why do I have suffering? Why? Because I have greed. I have ignorance. Therefore, I don't know how to handle this and continue to suffer. So, can I end it? Can I end my greed and ignorance? Yes. Buddha said to us many times, bhikkhus, I never ask you to do anything that you cannot do. So we can end suffering. That we can do. And then you must ask, how? Follow the path. Where is the Noble Eightfold Path? Right understanding, right thinking, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Where are they? All in us. So we have all the Four Noble Truths in us. All the thing we have to do is to look at ourselves, ask these questions, and then we try to follow the Buddha's advice. Friends, I think my time is up for this today's concluding talk. I hope you all learned something since you came here. All good things, Dhamma. Remember as much as you can and try to put them into practice. And remember the simile of umbrella. You are now carrying an umbrella. Use this umbrella. Rain is always there to protect you and liberate yourself and get dry home and get home dry and don't get wet. Today I must thank these venerable monks, Venerable Saddhaji, Venerable Gyasara and Venerable Dhammaratana and have a cook who prepared very delicious meals, and people who helped him in the morning before food was cooked, and after cooking, cleaning and preparing and all this. So we thank everybody, and I want to wish all of you very happy, peaceful day and peaceful trip home, and continue your practice. May you all attain Nibbana.